what did you do in 2016 here? And essentially you got all these numbers here. What's that? Like, dude, are you even listening to what I'm saying? Do you?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Career Brand Story, a podcast that provides expert career coaching every week. I'm Jeremy Tudor, and on today's show, we are talking about playing the long game in your career. If you've spent any time in my circle, you've definitely heard me say, play the long game. And this is a perspective that I truly believe in, and I'll probably go to my grave depending. I think it's that important. And let me tell you why. Playing the long game means that you are looking down the field toward your goal while doing things now that will set it up for the future. And so in our hyper-productive, hyper-fast world, it's easy to get distracted on the short game, feeling stressed and pressured to just win the day. But here's the deal. I won't win every day. You're not going to win every day. Now that I can admit that I won't win every day, and shoot, there's probably some weeks and maybe even some months where I don't win, I am more freed up to focus on what really matters. And for me, it's all about building a remarkable company. I prioritize people over profits, process over end result. And when I do this, I am happier, I am less stressed, and my team continues to outperform in our shared goals. So I'm joined today by our producer, Jeb Graff, and our guest, Gary Aviles. Gary is an IT sourcing and procurement management. And we are glad to have both of you here today. How are you guys doing?
I have nothing to complain about. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
And I'll just say the short word of ditto.
Ditto. Well, I'm super glad to dive into this conversation. I just want to give a little background to how I know Gary. Everybody knows how Jeb and I know each other if they've been listening to our previous podcast. But Gary, you were a client that has, been that we were connected with in that relationship. And we've just formed a great relationship from that. And when we were talking about playing the long game with my team, I immediately was like, I know the guy that we need to talk to because he did exactly that. We've got to get Gary on the podcast show. And so I'm really, truly thankful that you are on here tonight and we get the opportunity to talk with you about how you played the long game.
Yeah, I'm really stoked about it. And it's kind of funny too, Jeremy, when I was kind of prepping for this after you asked me to be part of this podcast, you realize we're just over a year. We've been working together and we've been friends and kind of just charging along, being the crazy people we are. It's over a year already. It's like yesterday.
I know, but it also feels like I've just known you forever. Yeah.
We really hit it off, definitely.
Yeah. Well, why don't you just start off by telling our listeners just a little bit about your career brand story and how you did play the long game in your career.
Yeah. So I guess, as I said, about a year ago, we kind of hooked up and I found you via the internet or via LinkedIn. And I was looking for somebody to help me kind of rethink myself. I felt I was getting a little stale. The way I was presenting myself to the world was stale. Marketing and career branding, as well as personal branding, have become huge. And I didn't know how to do it for myself.
Yeah.
So, we started off with a short conversation talking about LinkedIn and resumes, which all of a sudden became, no, Jeremy's my guy. I want to do his 13-week coaching session, which frankly starts with your career brand storybook. I got nothing other than you beat me with requirements right out of the box and lots of homework. I was like, I'm paying this guy for homework. What am I doing? What was I thinking? But it's really powerful stuff. And what it made me do is think about and reflect on my career, which is over 30 years now. The things that I've done, so my real accomplishments, as well as the things that motivate me, and the exercise helped me focus on what I really enjoy doing, but also why. And I hadn't really thought about that until last year, until June of last year, and why those things are really so important to me. So, after kind of going through my career brand story and going through the workbook, I realized that in order for me to be happy with my career, I would really need to find something that focuses on what I call my 4 core values, right? So I needed a job that valued constant learning, a place that valued strategic thought leadership, right? So they're not kind of pushing you down or allowing you to lead or kind of, move things forward. Collaboration, I needed to be at a place where collaboration was the word of the day, right? Everything revolves around getting together, getting things done, but collaborating through that and being part of that team. And then the last thing, which might sound kind of crazy, is individuality, right? I wanted to be at an organization that truly values individuals, what they're bringing to the table. Not only myself, but I want to think about the people that I work with every day. I want to be able to value them and what they do.
Okay, so you just said like 4 things that we could have completely separate shows on, which is great. But I'm just going to say this right now to refer our listeners back just to 2 episodes ago. We spent a whole episode talking about knowing your why. And you and I have had numerous conversations about why that's so important and to be feeling that you're really motivated in the work that you're doing. Leading up, and how do you do that well in an organization? And you can't do that if they're not strategic thinkers, if they're not, willing to listen to the people in the front lines to you. And so those are really important. And just coming up with those shared values, because I think when we engaged, they're felt, right? We feel those values, but we don't always know how to express or to ask or see them and connect with them. And I think that that's what really came to the surface for you was like, oh, I know it's a toxic environment where I'm at. I can get that, but what is it going to look like for me to go forward and being able to find that next organization that really does have shared, affirmed values?
Totally agreed. And that's really what it was about, right? There's something interesting that happens when all of a sudden you realize to stop focusing on the what and start focusing more on the why, right? And the emotional responses start to change. And that's what really started to drive me. And it helped me, going back to your first question too, it helped me to stop pushing myself towards a move and start seeking the right move, which is what you constantly said to me. Don't go just to go. You got to go for the right thing. Make the right move. And that's what we focused on. We focused on the things that were going to make me happy, not getting at just escaping something, but rather, being in the right environment where I could thrive.
Yeah,
Jeremy
it's always
Tudor
about not running from something, but going to something, right? And thriving.
Yes, thriving.
So how long did it take you to get to the place where you are now starting to thrive?
A year.
1 year, 12 months.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important for people to understand, because so many times we want to rush through the process. And when we do that, we, end up not, it's the short game. The short game says, I take the promotion for the money only. The short game says, I take the first job offer I get. The short game says, I'm, using network opportunities only for the jobs that are out there. It's taking more than it's actually giving. And so we end up in a place that really isn't life-giving for us.
Yep.
And then we're miserable.
I totally agree. It's more of the same, right? You stay on the wheel forever.
Yeah, you're just another cog.
Yeah, you never break the cycle, and that's the biggest problem. The cycle is vicious. They don't say the vicious cycle for nothing, and it'll keep on pulling you into it until you have to make that decision, right, to break the cycle, and that's that critical point, right, when you take the chance and change. Change is hard, but it's really easy to take the salary, take the job, take the perks, take the bonus, right? It's really easy to do that. But does it get you more of the same? And that's really what I kept finding is this is just the same thing over and over. and I needed to break that cycle.
Yeah.
And waiting the year gave me that. It put me in that place that, again, set me back to my 4 core values. It set me to a place where every day I wake up and I look forward to getting to work, to seeing my peers, talking to my peers, my coworkers, my associates, my leadership, being able to actually engage and speak with leadership as peers, to be able to collaborate with them and strategize with them. All of these things are so critical. And for them to then again look at me as an individual, but as part of that team, willing to collaborate with me, willing to allow me to be part of those strategic decisions, right? And maybe learn, right, Jeremy? I might not walk into those calls with all the answers, right? The other thing is they're looking at me to provide some answers. So they're willing to learn. And when you have that environment, it really starts to kind of build things up a little bit.
Yeah. So what was a kind of an aha moment for you in this whole process as you're trying to focus your career direction?
Yeah, that's your fault. Just so you I know where I was and when I had that aha moment, actually. It was during one of our calls, and it was early on in our relationship when we first started kind of working through, some of my accomplishments. You had me fill out a sheet and in the workbook, and it talked about my accomplishments, and I went through it. And for me, my accomplishments are like, whatever, just another day in the life. But when you read them back to me, I was like, who is that dude? I have no idea who that guy is. And it you did some wordsmithing as well. I'm not going to deny that, but it was just the way that you brought it back to me. I said to myself, wow, this is different. This is 20 years plus of achievements. And it was it was really cool to just have somebody acknowledge that all of a sudden, right? It hadn't been done. And I realized in that moment, like, I bring something special to the table. I don't have a career that started as, I'll try and use a bad example here, as a lawyer, and I was always a lawyer, right? Or
right.
My career has spanned so many different things. And I've been able to pull from every single one of those different jobs or roles that I've had in order to reach what I now call my actual career, which is about 9 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that happens to a lot of us is that, we're just kind of going along in life and we forget, the different points in the story that actually marked us. I mean, I even do that, and I look at some jobs that I've done and there'll be times where I'm like, man, that was a waste. And then yet today, I'll say something that I've done and I'll have someone like, oh, you did that? That's amazing. And so I think we just kind of discount ourselves on what we end up, the skill sets that we learn along the way that lend to be of value down the road for something that's really what again, it's the long game. And it's not always, we don't see it in the short term,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally understood.
So, I know with us talking over this last year at multiple different times that there were ups and downs that came along, and lots of feelings, as you were working to make this a career transition. How did you handle some of the ups and downs for yourself?
Thanks to you patiently. As we worked together, the thing that really I realized and I held on to, and I tried to kind of use as my rock, right, my true foundation. I keep going back to them. Are those values? I believed that I wasn't worried about money. I wasn't worried about salaries and bonuses and packages and all the rest of that stuff, the traditional compensation plans and things of that nature. I wasn't worried about that. I'm seasoned enough that comes, just based on your knowledge and experience, right?
Yeah.
It just comes, I think, as part of your career. What was important to me was this mental shift that I had made. I was focused on my values. I really held on to them, and I continue to hold on to them, right? It's being able to be in that right environment, that environment where I could learn and I could help others learn, where, I could think outside the box, be strategic in my thought leadership and be part of those teams where we're collaborating strategically as well and doing really cool and fun and interesting things that aren't your general day-to-day kind of stuff. And then having that opportunity again, and I keep saying it's having the ability and the opportunity to respect and appreciate the individuals around you for what they bring, and then being respected and appreciated for what I bring to the table. And those four things were the critical drivers for, whatever. Let me change that just slightly. Those four things are the critical drivers for everything I will do for the rest of my career, for as long as that may be. There was a mind-changing moment, right? Somewhat life-changing, because it had me start thinking differently. And these are the things that make me happy when I'm in this environment. So that's really the major difference.
I think listeners may have a question around, because I talk about value clarification all the time now with clients, because to me it is one of the most paramount pieces of figuring out your career direction and what you're really going after. Beyond just knowing like, I'm an engineer or I'm an IT guy or whatever, but to really understand what you value is just so key. Those four things that you mentioned, and so a learning environment,
learning, leadership, collaboration, individuality. So those four things, how did you know that this job you sit in today, how did you figure out that they have those four things for you to know that was the right job to walk into? That's a really cool question. When you and I first started and we were going through this is kind of a roundabout answer, by the way, but when we started talking about interviewing and interview questions, at some point I read somewhere or something, or maybe you told me, your resume basically is your skill set, right? So why do I want to go over my skill set with the person on the other side of a phone, a video conference, or the table? Right. And I said to myself, so I started to take a different approach to it, and I stopped focusing on my resume and what I had done, and would just say, let's just have a conversation. If there's anything specific on my resume that you want me to talk about, please do ask. Otherwise, I don't want to talk about what I do or what I've done. Why don't we talk about how I do it, how I got here, and why I'm here? Yeah. And if you'd be kind enough to do the same for me, like, why are you here? What are you trying to accomplish? What does the world look like for you in the future, here, elsewhere, whatever? And I think, Jeremy, what happened was I started to kind of floor people, right, with those questions. So it wasn't just me getting interviewed. To answer your question, I was interviewing them at the same time. So as I went through quite a number of interviews over the year that we were together, and it was always the same thing, right? Somebody you'd go down the path, And they push back and they just want to, well, tell me what about page 3 and what did you do in 2016 here? And essentially you got all these numbers here. What's that? It's like, dude, are you even listening to what I'm saying to you? So I realized quickly that that's not the environment I wanted to be in. I knew that it was a two-way street. And if the interview was that rigid and didn't have any creativity in it, and folks couldn't just open up, and these were going to be my future leaders,
right?
Why do I want to work with you? So I realized really, really quickly, in the dialogues that I was having, that I was talking to brilliant people, just hands down, like leaders in industry, in the space that we're in. That they're creative, they're strategic, they're smart. They know how to take the appropriate levels of risk. They're running businesses that are growing. They have mature plans for the future. All of those different things tick a box on my core 4. Every time. It's just like, click, tick that box. So that's what helped me really realize, that this organization, met my criteria as much as I was fortunate enough to meet their criteria.
Which is interesting when you think about what you just listed and kind of talked about, right? It's about organizations that are also willing to play the long game and not just the short game. Right. Because if you join organizations and businesses that if they're just about the profit, like it shows through their customer service. It shows through their planning. They probably don't have much planning. Right.
Yeah, true.
Nothing strategic to it. I've said that. I have the HR background, so I don't like to work what I call transactional HR. I love to work strategic HR, that's really putting people first and really thinking that. So it's as much as you were playing the long game, looking for an organization that was also playing the long game as well.
Yeah. And that's probably that. No, it's not probably correct. It's absolutely correct. I hadn't thought of it that way. But that is absolutely the case. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that you've just recently, started into your new job and everything, but now that you're on this side of it, definitely worth the wait for you at this place where you're at today.
Yeah. No, it's been, like I said, I wake up and I smile. My evenings, they end when they end. I'm not a 9-to-5er, you know that. I'm a start to finish. What I do as a career, as a negotiator requires, dedication. You don't just stop at 5:00 because the bell rang and it's time to go home. It doesn't work that way. So it's great to feel appreciated. It's great to be able to do the job, to be appreciated for the way I do the job, and to have the flexibility to do it kind of my way. Right? I have an opportunity to pave a path, make my own mark, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really, really cool. I have great leaders, people that I respect tremendously, that I'm fortunate to be working for, super bright people again. And, to have that level of trust from them really, really helps. So.
Well, Gary, I am so excited for you that, and you actually texted me, a couple of months ago about 2 months ago about this, and where you were at with that, and then called and told me that you got this, and it was just so exciting to know that you had gotten to this place, especially when I know all the things that you went through to get here. And I don't know anyone else that more deserves the happiness and the ability to thrive where you are today. And I'm excited. But hey, thanks. Here's the thing about career journeys that we all know is that it's a career journey. I hear it all the time, and I see it in my clients' eyes. There's fatigue and frustration from searching for a job with a lack of progress. And the truth is, there is a lot of discouragement when looking for a new job. Look, there's going to be a lot of no's before there is that one yes. I once interviewed with one organization and went through 5 different interviews. And by the 5th interview, answering nearly the same questions, I felt exhausted and unsure if I would get a job offer. In the same week, I received 3 different rejections from companies that didn't even want to interview me, and this cloud of discouragement hung over me. And so if you're anything like me, you'll relate to staring at endless job postings on Indeed.com or LinkedIn, thinking this is all just some big black hole. The good news is, as a mentor once told me, Jeremy, there is a job with your name on it if you want it. And so fearless job seeker, the same is true for you. Go ahead and put your name in the blank. Blank, there is a job with your name on it if you want it. So let's talk about what you do when you are discouraged. Be strong. Apply for one more job. Network with one more person. Keep going to work at finding your job. You say, I applied, no one answered. What do? You be strong and you apply to one more job. I don't know who said this first, but it's true. Successful people do daily what normal people do occasionally. So if you want the job, be strong, keep going, keep searching until you hear the yes. Consistently do it every day. No one said it was going to be easy. You are not trying to get invited to a party. You're trying to get a job. So be strong. Number 2, stay focused. Look, I get feeling frustrated when you don't get any response back after sending out 20 resumes or 50 resumes or 70 resumes. The discouragement of being rejected after your 5th interview, it's hard. You feel like you're taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, and there's no progress where there is no focus. So don't get distracted and stay focused. You may be sitting in your chair right now thinking, I'm just not there. I wish I were, but I am really discouraged. I'm not making any progress. Let me encourage you one more time. Be strong. Wake up every day, make something happen in your job search, not just occasionally. Apply for another job, network with another person, stay focused on your goal to find your next job, and eventually, that job with your name on it is going to be yours.
Do you have questions about wills, trusts, probate, elder law, divorce, or other legal issues? The law and legal system can be confusing and overwhelming when you're facing it alone. That's why 6-8 Legal Group PLLC and founding attorney Mark Garland are here to help. Our unique approach seeks to improve access to legal services by allowing you to select the level of legal assistance that fits your needs and budget. Sometimes that means we provide full service representation, handling everything from start to finish. Other times, it means we provide advice and coaching as you represent yourself. Ultimately, our goal is to craft creative, competent, compassionate solutions for your legal problems. We keep our caseload intentionally small so that you receive the personal attention you deserve. After all, it's not just another legal problem, it's your life. Check us out at 68legal.com. That's numerals 68legal.com.
And so we ask all of our guests the same question when they come on. What is it that you want to be when you grow up?
You're not going to believe me when I tell you.
If you say run an ice cream shop, I'm telling you right now that Jeb and me are signed on.
We'll shut it down right now and
shut it right down. Going. And here's where my office is located. There's an ice cream shop, What the Scoop, on the first floor. And it is a dangerous place for me. that guy, Kenneth, who owns and runs it, man, he is living my dream.
That would be a good runner-up. I'll tell you, it's a good number, too. By the way, Jeb, where have you been, man? You've been so quiet in the background.
Man, I'm taking it in.
We miss you, buddy. You've been quiet in the background there.
I'm just soaking it up. A lot of good information, a lot of good things. And really, I've been just thinking of how much this is like the theme of so many of the podcasts we've already done. All seem to center around finding these values that align with your values, finding company cultures and leaders that value what you value.
Yeah, I think you used a great word there, aligning, right? It's really about alignment. It's really about having that alignment, and it makes a huge difference. So this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you guys giving me a chance to come out here. And no, Jeremy, I'm not avoiding the question.
I know. Are we opening an ice cream shop, or are we still talking about values? Because I'm thinking about the ice cream shop.
Yeah, I really value ice cream personally.
I might have to go and get me some ice cream. It's only about 8:00. I could still get there. All right, guys. So if you really want to know what I want to be when I grow up, I'd like to be a cat.
Do you hear those crickets?
There you go.
Nobody has ever said they wanted to be a cat. That's going to need some further unraveling, Gary.
Absolutely. So I have 5 cats. I had 6. One passed away early last year. But before making my pre-Jeremy transition, back a couple of years ago, when we moved up to Charlotte from, we were living in Miami for a few years, we rescued 4 ferals from our backyard. Now, what you got to understand about feral cats and rescuing feral cats, they're crazy. They fight. They get angry. They're all kinds of vicious. Ours just were timid and afraid and hid because they were basically outdoor domestic cats. Mama cat gave birth on our deck, and her 3 babies got fed 3 times a day. When our cats got fed, they would come in and eat, but they wanted to be outside. That's just how they rolled. So when we left Florida, we knew we couldn't leave them behind, right? They were basically our cats. So you're probably wondering, like, dude, why would you want to be a freaking cat? What's your problem? Think about it. They're agile. They're smart. They're curious. They're loving. They're playful. Come on, they're goofy. You can't say that I'm not goofy. Come on. They're totally independent, and there's so much more. I got to tell you, man, I look at my cats here in this house. They got the best life ever. Why wouldn't I want to be a cat in my house?
You make a great point. Yeah.
How about it? What do you think, Jeremy?
So what I think is, I think we can open an ice cream cat cafe. Can we not?
Why not?
That's a good point. It might be difficult to keep them away from it.
Should we crowdfund it?
But we can figure this out.
I think we should see. I think that would tell us if there's support around it.
That's true.
Crowdfund it, Let's see if we can crowdfund it. It'll be just fine.
Oh my gosh. That's one of the best answers we've ever received.
You've taught me well, friend.
Fantastic. Well, if you like what you've heard today, you can hear more every week from us by opting into our email newsletter. Simply go to jeremytudor.com to sign up today. We promise we're not going to spam your inbox. We simply send 1 email each week with our expert career coaching advice. By the way, if you're wondering where you can follow, like, comment, you can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn. Just search for Jeremy Tudor. And on Instagram, it's going to be at Jeremy T. Tudor. Also, while many of you listen to this podcast, because that's what podcasts are for, you can also see all pretty 3 faces of Jeb, Jeremy, and Gary. And I'm telling you, that's a treat on the YouTube. So search Jeremy Tudor, our career brand story, to find us on the YouTube.
Sticking with the YouTube thing, I hear.
I am sticking with the YouTube thing. And then make sure you smash the subscribe button. I still don't know if I'm saying that right.
You got it that time.
I did it. So
subscribe.
So smash the subscribe button and you can follow us. If you're a subscriber, you're going to get this episode, all of our episodes early, but we drop them every Monday on a weekly basis. So Gary, where can our guests connect with you online? You're on LinkedIn, the best place?
Yeah, LinkedIn is the best place for me right now.
Awesome. So look up Gary Aviles and you'll be able to find him. Also look for me, look through the connections and you can find him there. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and keep thriving.